Hey, it's Joanna Hunter here for an episode of the Into the LightWeb podcast, and I am joined with special guest Jessica today. And we are so excited to share Jessica's story with you today. And you will also be getting some exclusive content in the My Million Dollar Experiment. So if you are not in the My Million Dollar Experiment, make sure that you get over there. Hi, Jessica. Thank you for joining us. Come and tell everybody your kind of full name and what it is that you do in the world.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me, Joanna. Yeah, my name is Jessica Lohmann, and I am the founder of Ethical Brand Marketing and creator of Marketing by Nature. And Marketing by Nature is a program that I designed to help nature-loving freelancing creatives master their marketing and messaging skills so that they can become visible and attract the right eco-friendly clients. And yeah, I'm doing this because creatives are the most influential people in the world, I believe. And because they are able to shift behaviors and yeah, they have a problem with marketing. So I really yeah, want to
You
help
help with that.
them. Yeah, yeah.
So let's go back through the sands of time because you found me through the first million dollar experiment.
hmm
So tell me a little bit about that journey because I think we've got a mutual friend, so we can give her a little plug as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in a like a spiritual mastermind, I guess. That started so long ago. I want to say 2018, 2019. Yeah, it went on for quite a while. And Wendy C. Williams, who is also a member of several programs of yours and the Million Dollar Experiment as well. She invited me and another girl into the first Million Dollar Experiment. So yeah, I just love her and I'm working with her now. She's setting me up in ThriveCart for my
Oh,
program. Yeah,
fantastic. Oh, she's so good with
she's
systems and
wonderful.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
So you hear about this million dollar experiment. Were you skeptical? Were you like, who is this chick? Why is it $25? Like, what was going through your mind?
Well, I trust Wendy. That was one thing. And $25 is not even something that you really have to think about, in my honest opinion. So I was like, I'm sure I'll get something out of it. I'm sure I'll get that amount back out of it. It's not going to be a problem. So, but of course, I was skeptical about earning $1 million. And I haven't yet, but I am working on it. So, yeah, I'm sure
Amazing.
we'll get into more of that later on in this podcast episode. But
So, were you on that inaugural call that we had, or did you catch the replay for that one, if you can remember? Like, what
Mhm.
was your first impressions of being in that container back in 2021?
Oh boy, yeah, I think I was live. I believe yeah, and I guess I remember reading the book too, and I the one thing that stuck in my mind was like, yeah, it really is like only 1 cent or $1 away.
Like
That
20
mind
steps
shift.
away.
Yeah, it's only like what, 12 steps
Yeah, 20
to
steps
get that 20
altogether. So you
steps.
take that
Okay.
$1 and then you double it to two, and then you take your
Yeah.
$2, double it to four, and you keep going. You only
Yeah.
have to do that 20 times. I mean, that was like for me, that was by mind blowing myself.
Complete, totally. Because we think of $1 million as like, whoa, that is so far away.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
yeah, so that was a big mind shift. And I resonate with everything you say anyway. Like, I mean, I guess that was my first introduction of you. Um,
Hmm.
So, as time went on, I was like, damn, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Because you're so quick with advice. You can read people's minds like you're inside there just trying to clean up. Um, so,
It can be messy in your mind. I mean, I
oh,
don't mind.
totally. Yeah, you could be my cleaning lady anytime. So,
Oh, gee. So let's talk about that paradigm shift, because I think for a lot of people that is like, for me that was massive, of realizing.
Mm,
And I don't want to get all like get my tinfoil hat out and get all conspiracy theory, but like I think so many people like you and me felt like it was so far away, $1 million, like it was so out of reach. And then suddenly you're like, I have $1 or I have £1 or I have €1, and it is 20 steps away. And
yeah,
suddenly it's like in your ballpark. It's like, holy moly, like this is just a rinse and repeat
yeah.
situation. And it's this. So tell me a little bit about how you started applying that kind of shift to your life, beginning to realize, did that increase your
Mm,
ability to dream bigger, see a bigger
mm.
picture for yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, last year, I, as I was developing my program, I hired, like I went into an acceleration program to be able to create my program, and we like put out our moonshot goal. And before it would be like, yeah, maybe, 6K, be like, okay. But I was like, bam, this is my moonshot goal, 10 million. And I, I, I just felt I didn't deserve to dream that big. Because
Mm.
I also don't want to be disappointed. And that's what I have to tell my students now too, like, because they don't set goals just because they don't want to be disappointed. And that is so sad, because if you don't have any goals, if you don't have any dreams, then you're not, what are you doing? Like, you're not working towards anything. You're just kind of like
Yeah,
putzing around, right?
it's like flapping in the wind. And I
Yeah,
know exactly, because I spent a lot of time not allowing myself to dream for
right.
that very reason. Same reason as you. That
Yeah.
reason of like, well, I'm going to be disappointed. And but also as well, don't you think time factors into that so much as well? Because like I was like, if I didn't get those like $1 million results in 5 seconds flat, I was like, I'd given up and was disappointed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing I also learned from you is that, like, money is infinite and time is finite. So like, learn how to really spend your time wisely, and the
Mm,
money part will come. Like, yeah, I learned most of my money mindset shifting from you. Um,
amazing.
if not all of it. I did listen to another woman a few years ago, but yeah, just because I was born and raised kind of in a poor situation. So I'm one to like keep my money, keep it. So what I've learned from
Hoarding,
you,
yes.
yeah,
That's how I
hoarding,
thought you got wealthy. Back in the day, that's
yeah,
how I thought you got wealthy.
right,
Like you literally saved your money until you had
yeah,
a big pile of money and some unseen force declared you wealthy.
yeah,
And now I realize, no, actually, the wealthiest of people have amazing money flow. Like it literally
mm,
flows, as opposed to it's like a dam and it's being hoarded and dammed up and it doesn't get to flow. In fact, these people tend to have, like very wealthy people tend to have very healthy money flow.
mm, yeah, absolutely. And I would like not upgrade a tool just because, oh, it costs this much money. And you know, I trashed all those ideas that I had, and just started upgrading, started hiring people, started not doing everything myself, not DIYing everything. And yeah,
What's
it
the
really
difference
does help.
been for you in take has that taken a lot of pressure off, or what's it been like to make that
Yeah.
transition from being frugal, being, having to do it all yourself, all the, because that's quite pressured. Like I remember feeling quite pressured, like because I
Mm.
always put everything on me and then I moaned that everything was on me.
Right, exactly, exactly. Like, I don't have any time. I'm working all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I it's freeing, I guess. Like, it really relieved me of a lot of yeah, I don't want to say suffering, but it relieved me of a lot of
But it
of
is
work,
suffering
I
in a way,
guess.
right? Like,
Yeah, like you're
like
trying to work
we can
around
be
things.
cruel to ourselves and go hashtag first world problems. But,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, if something is causing you to feel really bad, it is a form of suffering.
Mm,
And it just because we know that there's so much more gnarly suffering out there, it doesn't lessen the
yeah.
fact that we can perhaps be suffering as well, right? Because
Yeah.
I know that my previous money mindset before I really began upgrading that money mindset was it caused a lot of suffering. And I was not happy in life as a result
Mm,
of that.
yeah.
And I feel so much freer now. And is that something
Yeah.
that you've experienced as well, of kind of feeling freer in yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And now I can like I'm very conscious with my money. I still am
Good.
because
Yeah,
I'm very
amazing.
eco-friendly conscious. So I will only buy things like products if I really need them and if it's good for the environment or not harmful for the environment. Let me put it that way. So I'm still very conscious. However, um, I ask myself the question, do I need this? Do I want this? And will, will it help me move forward? So that's another very important question that I ask myself, even activities, not just on buying things, but on my spending my time. Like, will this activity help me move forward? And that has helped my productivity amazingly because, with ADHD is like, like my mind's all over the place,
She's no
creative,
joke,
all
ADHD.
over the place.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
So tell us what one of your favorite upgrades has been. What's been like something that you've upgraded in your business that you bought? I remember the first time I built this business. Let me just tell you a little story about this. I built this business and I was really frustrated in the beginning because I had like the oldest laptop known to humankind. It was either 11 or 13 years old and it had two missing keys. And it would overheat and randomly shut itself down and I would lose all work that I had been working on. It was so frustrating, right? But I honestly didn't have the money to replace it. And so I was like, first of all, I used to be like, oh, poor little me, I would really tap into the poor little me story. And then I was like, you know what? You have a computer. You are doing better than a big part of the world. And okay, so what if it shuts down? Like, suck it up, Buttercup, because one day you're going to be able to upgrade this thing and that's gonna be a glorious day, right? That is
mm,
going to be a glorious day when you get to upgrade that computer. But like right now, it's kind of working, not all the time, but it is working. And yes, okay, you
mm,
regularly have to stick your laptop in the freezer to get it to cool down, but like, hey ho. And that's how I started
mm,
building the business that I have right now. And I wrote my first book on that computer. I wrote my first programs. I did my first lot of marketing on that computer. And I remember the day that I upgraded to my very first MacBook.
mm,
And oh my God, that really brought up my stuff purchasing that because like it was the most money I'd spent in such a long time. And
mm,
and I was really nervous, like really, really nervous. But as soon as I started using that, honestly, I was like a dog with like three tails. I felt so happy. And it changed my energy having that upgrade
mm.
because now I felt like, I don't know, like somehow it kind of gave me that permission to be a legit entrepreneur now that I had the right equipment that didn't
Right?
shut down randomly on me. But I think that story really demonstrates we've got to start where we are, right?
Yeah.
And keep going. But what's been one of your like shining moment upgrades?
Yeah. I guess we can say it's not a product. It's actually training and education. So I booked, I booked, I reserved a spot for DPAP, which was Divine Planning and
Abundant
Profits,
Profits Academy, yeah.
right? And um, I did a whole bunch of work and I had my like product suite and that was all great, but something was not quite right with my niche. and something was not quite right with, what I had laid out. So what I did is I sat on it. I think that was like in 22. Yeah, that was in
Mhm.
2022. And I sat on it, and I continued to go through your coaching. Like every month we would do those coaching calls, and I would always, try to have an important question ready. And you were always really good with your advice, or always is, always are. And and then I was like, okay, you know what? I've been wanting to design this program, this ethical marketing program, for 5 years now, for 5 years.
Mm.
And I got the help to do that. I actually hired help back in 2018 and 2019 to get this baby on the ground to help me with it, because I knew it was too big. It was bigger than me, and I really needed like
Yeah.
that private help. So so then I invested. I invested money, and I got the help I needed, and I
That's
launched last
amazing.
year. I launched last year. So now like my product suite looks a lot different, and it feels right, and it's
I remember
working.
having that conversation about your product suite because you were asking, and what we realized was when you came on that call, what we realized was that it was a very labor intensive product suite.
Yeah,
As in you
yeah,
really needed to be so present for everything, which
everything.
would eventually, as your business grew, you would become the bottleneck of your business, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's always handy when you've got that other person
yeah,
to you've got that other person to kind of like see something that maybe you're too close to it to see.
yeah, yeah,
But I
absolutely.
love that your best upgrade has been investing in your business and
Yeah,
investing in yourself,
yeah.
because like it moves the needle faster, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And now I have an illustrator, a graphic design, an illustrator, a video editor, an assistant, almost full-time assistant, and a web developer, like, on contract basis, like, but
Amazing.
yeah, like a full-time assistant. That's great. Yeah. And now I don't feel like I'm delegating. I feel like I'm building a team. And we talked about that on like a couple of months ago, like,
Yes.
because I was like, how do I invest?
Where do we
And
invest first, right?
right,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So, my
Yeah,
favorite bit of advice for that is you write a list of everything you don't like doing in your business.
absolutely.
And that's your first job
Absolutely.
description for your first hire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you do that? Did you follow some of that and got some of those jobs
I
off
did.
your table?
I did. I mean, yeah, I had that hate to do column. Can outsource, because some things you don't, I couldn't outsource
Hmm.
everything, right? So I totally did that. And I also had my students do that. So
Amazing,
because they
amazing.
also had the idea, because creatives, freelancing creatives, they don't need capital. They're not producing a product. They don't have a brick and mortar store. They just go in and like, okay, well, I don't need to invest. I can just start my business. They just need
Yeah, and some
software.
of them even fall into their businesses, right?
Right.
Because it starts off as a very organic thing. A friend says, "Hey, can you do da 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 for me?"
Right.
They're like,
Exactly.
"Sure." And before they know it, like 6 months down the line, there's a fully blown business going on there, you know?
Right. Yeah. And so, because they know how to do social media, that's
Mhm.
what they start doing. And then when they realize, oh, I kind of need help, um, or I need, yeah, it would be nice to have that software upgrade, or, I don't want to do troubleshooting on my website. I don't know how to do that. Like, they'll really seriously think about making that investment, and usually don't. They will spend the 8 hours DIYing the troubleshooting. I have done this. I have done this so many times. I know Divi, I know WordPress. Like, I used to code back in 1999. I used to build websites back then, but that's not
Mhm.
what I need to be doing. So this shift
No,
from freelancer to founder to
actually
leader.
a CEO that is looking after your brand, your company.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's the
that is so
shift, right?
important.
Like
Yeah,
that's the shift that
that's
makes
it.
the money. Because when
Absolutely.
we're in that consciousness of like, when we're in the, it's kind of a bit like an employee consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Of like, we're trying to be all the employees of a, like an entire company.
Hmm.
And of course, like in the early days for most businesses, it's me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And like, and you are wearing every employee hat within the organization. And very, not every business owner then realizes that this is the issue in the business, and they start to look above the parapet, if you like, and they start to kind of like see, oh, like actually maybe instead of working in my business, I could be working on my business. I think that was
Hmm.
a big shift for me,
Yeah.
hearing
Hmm.
that working in your business versus working on your business. And it's a completely different energy, different vibe. Then I have days where I'm working in my business, but then there is many days now where I work on my business instead. And
Mm.
that is where we really move the needle forward
Yeah.
on the business, is that working on the business and being the CEO and looking at your company and your brand and saying, what are its needs?
Mm.
And it's nothing personal. It's not like, because if that brand or that company comes back with, like, when you go, what are your needs to your brand and to your company, and you get back, well, you need to spend more hours here and more hours there. It's not, it's not like, no, it's not personal. Like, this is just the needs of the business right now.
Mm.
What can we do to be the CEO to put that in place? And we don't have to do it all ourselves.
Right.
Tell us about your business a little bit more. So you decided to jump into Divine Planning Abundant Profits Academy.
Hmm.
So we do business really differently there, right? So we have a very different way of doing business. There's none of this like sausage factory funnel machine things. We tend to, we're working on building organic and all of those things. So you've made the investment, you jumped in. How is that shifting your business, and what's happened to you as a business owner as you've gone through that? And do you feel now that you are reaching more of your clients?
Yes. 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 So, um, let me think. So after, like, when I did the strategic work for the program
Mm-hmm.
that I for marketing by nature, um, yeah, I think when I first came to you, or when I first started the program, I wanted to work with creative activists. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember that,
Yes,
but
I
it was
do.
like
I do.
animal welfare activists. And um yeah, I was like really gung ho on that. And um yeah, now I've shifted to actually more business. So it's the creative freelancers who are working for the eco-friendly businesses. And that's a huge shift. Like the the niching part, like finding the right niche for you and finding the right group of people to work with. I've been working with creatives, ever since I became self-employed 11 years ago, exactly 11 years ago on March 1st. So
Oh, congratulations. That's
yeah, thank
amazing.
you. It was a big celebratory, content that I wrote about that. It has to do with Girl Scout cookies, but anyway. So I making that shift really changed everything, because then it changed how what the program became. And I don't even really remember why I first had a different niche in mind. I honestly don't remember. Um, but yeah, it really makes sense to absolutely evaluate that. And
Open it up, because your original niche is now kind of in the umbrella of your current niche. And it's not so like, it's giving you a broader audience, because it's not like
Mhm.
animal activists, like let's count them, how many is there in the world, right? Like,
And
yes, we
who's going
want
to
there
pay
to
for
be
that?
more, but
Right.
your way of ethical marketing and all of the things that you teach, like,
Yeah,
it can fit this broader umbrella.
absolutely. Yeah.
you know and there's a lot of creatives out there who are maybe lacking the kind of more hard, like they've maybe got plenty of soft skills, but they're lacking the more harder skills of like, how do we get this business to get going? How do we get
Mm,
the traction in the marketing? Like
yeah.
all of the things. And now
Yeah.
you've created this epic course that you are launching and bringing out into the world. I love this. Tell us what your experience has been of being in Depop. What's that been like?
Yeah. Every time I get on a call, every time because sometimes in the beginning, once a year, you have the 2 weeks, right? And
Yeah,
then a week or a monthly call. So what I love about that is hearing everybody else, like what they're going through. And because often you have gone through that yourself. I can speak for myself, actually. Um, so what I love about that is that I can, I always get a really spot on answer from you. And it's very intuitively channeled. I don't know
yeah.
how you, seriously, I
Okay.
don't know how you do it, but it's like I know you know us very well, and you know your target market very well. And so that has a lot to do with it, but there's more there. There's like you do it, you channel it. Because you
Yeah.
could read, like I said, you can read our minds. And you know exactly what to say, and you do it so quickly. Like that's what I like find fascinating. You just pew, pew, pew. Whereas like I need some time to think about things.
Yeah.
And so um what I want to do, or what I plan to do this year, is go back and revisit what I've already went through in the program, because I went through it, and then then I changed
we've got a live round in April.
in April, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so April.
So I'm gonna go through it again, and now with a different set of eyes, like a different pair of ears, because it's all, you always find things that you didn't catch before, or that you
But everything changes. Like, think of how much
does.
your consciousness has changed since you
Yeah.
jumped into my world from, in 2021, from the $1 million
Yeah.
experiment. And every time your consciousness goes through a change, it's like you've got a different lens that you see
Mm-hmm.
life by, you know? And so you had the employee lens. So
Mm-hmm.
everything that you were reading before was through that employee lens.
Mm.
Now the CEO hat is firmly on your head and you are showing up like a boss lady.
Yeah.
And now it's the boss lady lens, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's the CEO lens that you'll view the information through. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is the fun thing with consciousness. And this is the fun thing with consciousness, because the higher our consciousness rises, the newer the perspectives become that we get. We
Mm-hmm.
see things that we didn't see before. We notice things that we didn't notice before because our consciousness has shifted. And obviously, the
Mm-hmm.
higher the consciousness, the more awareness we have
Yeah.
by everything,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. And I
Yeah.
mean, the last time you maybe went through this, maybe last year, of the program, the thing is that your consciousness will have shifted,
Absolutely. Yep.
between then and now. And so brand new lens to look
Yeah.
everything through. And this is one of the things that I really love about things like $1 million and, in the programs that we have, like Divine Planning Abundant Profits, because you're never going to be done with them, because
Mm-mm.
they are working with your consciousness, which means they're constantly shifting your consciousness, which means every time you go through the course material, it shifts because
Mm-hmm.
you have shifted and
Yeah.
your ability to receive in is so different.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to happen now for your students in
Mm.
your new course, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
And two are now in the $1 million experiment too, because I invited
Oh,
everybody.
amazing.
So I had
Ah,
a 50% conversion rate, because I had my first iteration,
mhm.
and invited everybody, and two people signed up. So
That's incredible. That's
yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. I love the $1 million affiliate program or rewards program has to date for this year, we're at just over well, it's actually like $26,500
Wow.
that we have paid out in
Wow.
that. And it makes me so happy that I have created a business that has the ability to bless other people like that,
Yeah.
like in that. And that for people to come in a program where they can actually earn their money back and more if they want,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's the cool thing
Mm.
um with it. And to date it's now we're up in over $66,000 that has been paid out, $3 million
Wow.
to the participants, which is
Yeah.
like unreal.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Tell us some of your favorite things that you have learned while being in my world. What are some of the
Mhm.
biggest lessons that kind of stand out for you? I
Mm.
know I'm giving you like Johnny on the spot here.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm also in LightWeb, by the way. So yeah, so I think, oh, the money mindset, that's number one. The money
Right.
talks. That's number one because that is just that's huge shifting right there. And that I feel like that could be the most important thing if you're a business owner. Because
I
I,
think so as well, but especially for a spiritual business owner, right? Because
yeah,
spiritual people and people who have like, you wanted to work with activists and people like that are in that kind of world and genre.
yeah,
Money is like the devil,
it
in
is.
some of those circles, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's this like dirty word. And like my hope is that for people that I take poor little battered money and I give them a little wipe down and I dust them off, and and we don't see that this is such an awful character in our life. In fact, it can be this door opener, this thing that can create paradigm shifts and new
Yeah.
experiences and wonderfulness and
Yeah.
it's actually a creative force within our life experience, as opposed
Hmm.
to this horrible, like, we should be afraid of it type
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I love that the money has been really, because that for me makes
Mm.
me really happy, because I really want money in the hands of people who are going to do good with it.
Exactly.
Like
And
you've
that's,
got people who
yeah.
exploit nature,
Yeah.
right? And they've got like they can make sometimes like tons of money.
Hmm.
Okay, great. But like, what about the people who are like you that are working actively to protect nature and help other
Yeah.
people to market the things that are helping and protecting nature? You
Mm.
know, it's like, of course I want you guys to have money. I'd like you to have, I'm going to be really biased here, but I'd like you guys to have money more than I would like to have the person that's going to like cut down a forest.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I tell my students and my clients all the time because they're like, "Oh, well, I just need 30,000 pounds or euros, just to survive." I'm like, "No, you want to make a positive impact. You really do. And wouldn't it be better? I just said exactly what you said. Like, wouldn't it be better if you had the money because you're responsible with it?" And it's not going to, take money away from somebody else, but you will be responsible with it. You can make a change. And I also now I'm also writing about money because the investing in their business, like they're very I said this a little bit before, they're very conscious because they go into business without having to invest any money. And then they're
Mm,
like, well, I have to earn this money before I can invest back into it, when they don't understand that the way, like the easiest way to earn money is by investing in your company. Like it's kind of like that chicken and the egg scenario, but
completely.
they
And
need
it is like the chicken and the egg, except it's not, because the
yeah,
investing actually does come before you start
or
getting eggs. You
yeah,
have to buy the
it does.
chickens
Yeah,
before
true.
you
Yeah,
get your eggs.
that's true.
Like
Yeah, that yeah,
literally, that is
absolutely.
it. And
Yeah,
yeah, it is. I totally get that feeling of the chicken and the egg, right? But like
mhm.
it is, you have to buy those chickens before you get those eggs,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
true. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and it
Um,
is. I love that. I love that
yeah,
you're passing on this wisdom as well. Like, I
yeah,
love that this is now like changing the conversation for your clients as well, right? Because
it
it's so
is. Yeah.
powerful and potent, and that's a ripple effect that
Hmm.
we're creating. And I get so excited. I get so activated just at the thought of spiritual entrepreneurs being out there, like doing this work and shifting consciousness. And it is really, really like activating to me of thinking like these guys with more money, and
Mm,
being able to use that money responsibly and use that money
mm,
for the betterment of the world and
yeah.
to create something spectacular. And
Mm,
I know so many of my students do things like the Kiva loans, and
yeah.
and it's amazing the
Yeah.
ripple effect that we can create with by being fully, I call it fully sourced,
Hmm.
of like
Yeah.
having that resource. Tell us a little bit about your journey with LightWeb, because LightWeb is one of my strangest programs. I will be the first to admit that, because nobody seems to agree on what LightWeb is. So tell us a little bit about your LightWeb journey. What called you to LightWeb in the first place? Because we always say
Oh
people get
gosh.
called to it.
Yeah, it was, I guess it was last year, or was it 2022? No, it was last year. I think I want to say spring too, maybe
Yeah,
spring
yeah,
of
that
last year.
would be right. We had a round in spring.
Excuse me. And yeah, it was this just the way you teach, just the way you teach about the spiritual things and the way of thinking and like your shadow side and the light side. Like I was born and raised in a very negative environment. Everything was poo-pooed on, and my self-esteem was like down in the
On
dirt.
the floor.
Yeah. And so I had like no confidence growing up, and I mean it's uh just learning that what you teach, I can't, you say it so much more beautifully than I can say it. But just listening to you and resonating with it, it's like, yeah, actually, I I am valuable. This is, you know, I am working in shadow side when I react this way, or when I think this way, or when I think, even when I badmouth myself, or whatever the case, right?
Yeah.
So I think that just learning about being very conscious about what you say, how you think, like even just thinking about other people, like making things up about what you think they
Assumptions,
think.
right? Like those stories that we like,
Yeah,
like say for instance, somebody doesn't get back to you on the internet, and then you're
yeah.
like, they don't like me, they're ghosting me,
It's
and
totally
before
personal.
we know it, we got this runaway story.
Yeah,
That's like
exactly.
crazy.
It is crazy because everybody's busy. Nobody has, time for anything anymore, and it's never personal. It's never personal, usually
No.
anyway. So yeah, just I mean, it
Have you
just
felt
seems
like
so
it's
much
brought you a
common.
level of inner peace?
Yeah, inner peace, more confidence, knowing, more cognizance, like claircognizance, if I am saying that
Yeah,
correctly,
clear knowing, beautiful.
right? Because I feel that, being an entrepreneur, or going into business yourself, that starts a personal journey of its own. And
Yes.
and I've been doing this for 11 years. However, I didn't start that journey until 2016. And then, like, so I had already been in business for like 3 years, just kind of putzing around, kind of
Yeah.
freelancing, doing this
Yeah.
and this, doing Upwork, this kind of putzing around basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I invested in one program, and that kind of kick started it. And then I kind of outgrew that, and then I kind of moved on. I was like, I need a little bit more of this spirituality. And that's like when I met Wendy, and then came into your world, and I feel like that's when that started off. And now I'm like, I have a group of people here in Germany where we learn more about shamanism. And so that's that whole nature aspect and being connected to nature. And it's just
Beautiful. I love
it
it.
just yeah, it's just I feel well, I feel more balanced. I feel more, yeah,
Sounds like you're more
control.
connected than ever
Yeah,
before.
connected, grounded. Yeah. And I still get in my head. Everybody does, right? So, but I feel like I can maybe not control it, but I can identify it.
And move out of it quicker. That's how I experienced it. That's how I experienced the shift. It's like things that would take me maybe a month, 2 months to process, especially if my human has been like super triggered, right?
Right.
And it would be like a 3 month ordeal that I would put myself through, like all in my head, all in
Yeah.
my own thoughts, everything. I'd be triggered, I'd be so pissed off, I'd be all this. That same scenario, that same situation is a matter of minutes
Yeah.
situation now of where I'm moving through very rapidly, very quickly, able to let it go. And even just like a week later, I'm not even thinking on that thing anymore. Whereas a
Mhm.
week later before, I would have been like
Be like,
mulling that thing over again and again and again.
and
What does it mean? Like totally
and
psyching yourself out.
oh gosh, yeah. That's when I wish I was a non-human animal in those moments. But yeah, I find myself not doing that anymore. The time
Beautiful.
span is a lot shorter. I need more than a few seconds though, but I'm getting there.
It just gets easier and easier the more that you apply the sort of light web tools.
Yeah.
It just, eventually it becomes like in the first is like clunky because you're
Mm,
not used to thinking that way or you're not used to operating that way.
yeah.
But then as you apply the light web tools, like it just gets easier and easier. And I
Yeah.
find that it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And
Mm,
now, as I like to say, people have to get up really, really early in the morning to push the buttons, because they're not usually available for anyone to push. So it's
yeah.
like it takes a lot now, which is quite good because I went from a human that used to be triggered all the time and get upset with things all the time, and now I'm like, okay, and I'm able to I don't know if you've experienced this one, but my new one is that I now get triggered on the behalf of other people. So what I
Yeah.
realize is sometimes I see the behaviors of others and I know that maybe they're in my world for a particular result. And
Mm,
I know that the behavior that they're perhaps behaving is so out of alignment with getting them the result that they want
mm,
that I get noised up for them. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, please just understand that it's just this, like it's nothing personal. It's really just that little piece of behavior
Yeah.
that is probably causing you the suffering, right? Because
Yeah.
I've been there, you've been there, you know what it feels like to be that person that's suffering with their own thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings and things. And it's so night and day when you're able to process and think differently
Mm,
um that way. Tell us, Jessica, now that you allow yourself to dream bigger and things, what are your dreams and your plans for
yeah.
going forward? We're launching this course, right? Which is amazing. Tell us what else is going on in your world.
Yeah. Well, so this year I'm going to complete 2 more beta iterations. And I'm fully concentrating on that right now. I have 2 other businesses. Like I've written a children's book, a middle grade book about animal testing, and I started the second book about the animal farming industry, and I'd love to finish that. I don't. That won't be this year though. That won't be this year,
Amazing.
but I do want to find a publisher for that because I want it to be a series, and I self-published the first one. Um,
I can
so
maybe put you in touch with a couple of people that I can think of just off the top of my head. So we can maybe that might
yeah,
be a done deal. We might be able to point you in the right direction for that.
yeah. So basically, I'm fully concentrating on marketing by nature right now because it's just going to be fantastic helping more creatives. So the second iteration will start in May, and yeah, which is like right around the corner. So I'm now talking to potential students and seeing, if they're a good fit. And then we'll
Amazing.
do the second iteration in October or so. We'll see, October, November. And yeah, I want that to be the signature program. And then I want to build on that product suite. So I haven't developed that yet. So
Stay
um,
tuned.
yeah, stay tuned. But I definitely am thinking about having a fully digital version at a lower price point for those who can't afford it. Want to DIY everything, and there'll just be no coaching, and then have the signature program with the coaching for that, and then probably like a VIP coaching package. So that's what it feels like right now. I also want to build a community with with the students, and make that creative so that they can actually say, okay, I've just designed this for a client, and describe the client a little bit. What do you guys think? And to have that kind of collaboration, because um yeah, I'm a huge advocate for collaboration over competition, and
I
I
love
want these campaigns to shift behaviors. I want these campaigns to stop over consumerism, to help consumers shop consciously, connect more with nature. Like that is the reason why I designed this, because I want these campaigns to be inspiring and to work, and to, really
change the conversation on Earth,
change.
basically.
Yes,
I
because
love
uh,
that.
yeah,
I
because
love that.
we just don't understand that we're nature, and we are so disconnected. And that, to me personally, I feel like that is the reason why we have all these societal problems, like every problem we have, because we are so disconnected. Um,
I
and it
couldn't
could,
agree more.
yeah.
Skylar teaches one problem, one solution. The problem is
Mm,
lack consciousness.
yeah.
And it's that lack
Yeah.
consciousness that creates, and that lack consciousness can show up in our money. It can show
Mm-hmm.
up in lack of love. It can show up in so many different places and spaces. But
Mm,
globally, how it shows up is in things like war and famine and
yeah.
over consumerism and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things
Yeah.
is how lack consciousness shows up. And it is one problem and the solution, a source
Yeah.
connection.
And I remember you saying, you're all light, by the way. Your video is like, it's now like phasey light. Like, but I
Oh,
remember we talking about this in a DPAP conversation, and you said that Skylar told you that our disconnect came when we started wearing shoes with the rubber, right?
there's a part of the disconnect. So the disconnect had already started, but it really cranked up a notch when
Mm,
we started becoming isolated from Earth.
yeah.
So there's an ionic exchange that happens between humans and our planet. And when we started wearing rubber soles, it was an electromagnetic ionic exchange that happens between a human being and us having bare feet on the
Mm,
earth. And then we started wearing shoes, and it was okay because our shoes were made of natural materials. They were made of
mm,
leather. They were made of natural things, like Japanese little shoes were made of wood, so it was the
mm,
ionic exchange was not interfered with. It was still happening. The moment in the 1950s where we started using rubber on the bottom of
mm,
our soles, we started insulating. Like, what do you use? Use rubber to insulate electrical cables so that you
mm.
don't get an electrical shock, so that it
Yeah.
prevents the electricity from escaping, right?
Yeah.
And so, because we're electromagnetic beings, we stopped having that ionic exchange to a certain degree. And that's and if you look at the Industrial Revolution of the 1950s and then right into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and
Mm,
and then beyond that, you can see like we stopped really, really caring about the environment, and as it went along, and we started
mm,
to, the big mass consumerism. Like one of the things that really, really blows my mind is that I think it's Sweden got their first supermarket in 1954, and the first supermarket did not appear in America until 1948,
mm.
right? And like, can you imagine like no supermarkets, like none,
Wow.
like it is so
Yeah.
insane. Like,
Yeah.
but yet it's within living history that these organizations have become a thing.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
obviously with it came mass farming, mass
Mm-hmm.
consumerism, mass
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
came with it. And it's insulated us. And I think that's one of the things, is that we no longer we see ourselves as living on the earth and not living with the earth. And it's like the CEO working in your business or
Yep.
working on your business. Now we're living on the planet, and
Yeah.
we should be living with the planet. I think that's
Yeah.
the big things.
Yeah.
But yes, that's one of the things that Skylar brought, was one of the, it's like crazy little factoid that they come in and out. It sent me down so many rabbit holes, like starting to research that. And if anybody who's listening to this podcast and is fascinated about that, one of the rabbit holes that you want to visit is grounding.
Yeah.
So you want to earthing and grounding,
Yeah.
because a lot of our disease, which is also part of the Great Divorce, according to Skylar. So the set of teachings we're referring to is a set of teachings called the Great Divorce, of how we are the one-sided divorce between humans and the planet, and we are the ones that are perpetrating the divorce. The planet does not want to be divorced from us, but
No.
we are separating ourselves from it. And in that, it's creating a lot of suffering. It's creating a lot of pain for human beings. But it is an interesting thing. I love that that's really stuck with you, because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this is it, right? Isn't it? It's that
Absolutely.
disconnection. It is
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
disconnection again and again.
Yeah.
And it's what creates that I believe it really is what creates a lot of the illness in the body temple. It creates a lot of unhappiness. It creates a lot of our human issues that we
Yeah.
are having, is that disconnect.
Yeah.
And every which way that we can connect more with not only ourselves, with source and the planet, it's going to be just a good thing for everyone long term as well.
Amen.
I love it. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
Jessica, tell us where we can find you, your special brand of magic in this world. What are your favorite social media platforms? And then give us your website.
Yeah. I'm usually on LinkedIn every day. That's my main platform. I have, channels everywhere. I have a presence everywhere else, but LinkedIn, you'll find me there. Jessica Lohmann, and ethicalbrandmarketing.com is my website. And if you're interested in marketing by nature, if you're interested in talking about your marketing, we can hop on a call. Just hit me up. You can send me a DM on LinkedIn or an email at info@ethicalbrandmarketing.com. Even if you're thinking about, not thinking about joining, or, whatever, I would still love to talk to you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so
So
good. Thank you.
you're
So
welcome.
one final question before we jump off here. If somebody was sat on the fence about jumping in deeper into my world,
Mm.
what advice would you give?
I would say that if you're looking to go deeper into your own self and your own personal development, and want to build a business with intuition, with spiritual guidance, with Joanna's guidance, which is spiritual guidance, and and just have a partner there, and also a very loving and warm community as well. To look at our products, because you have several different ones, several different courses, and just find the right one for you and start there. And yeah, it would, I must say that I am, I'm not a big shopper. However, I am so addicted to online courses. And I
That's your
have a
jam.
lot, I have a lot of them under my belt, but I have not invested time in, I've invested time in the first one that I did. I've invested time in this past one that I was working on to get my own
Mhm.
course together. And that's it. I've invested a lot of time in DPAP and in LightWeb, and I will continue to do so. And those are probably the two that I will continue doing. So I don't know if that says anything, but like from 15 courses, Depop and LightWeb are the ones that I repeat just because I always gain something from them.
Amazing. I love that. I can't think of a better endorsement. That feels it's so generous, and thank you so much. And I love the fact, and it is that because they're all based on consciousness, you know, and as
Mm,
your each time they shift your consciousness. So
mm,
each time it's like you're going through the course anew and you're going deeper into the course material. Because I think the first round of anything in my world is usually not deep enough.
mm.
Like usually you're shell shocked the first
Yeah.
round. You're
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
right, this is how life is. The second round, you're like, okay, I know how they roll here. So then you're like, you're breathing through it a lot more easier than,
Yeah.
you know, because we know that, because obviously some of it, when we realize with the energy and stuff like that, it's quite confronting, right? Because
Yeah.
you see parts of yourself that you're like, oh, girlfriend, that's not so attractive, that part of me, you know? But it's nothing personal really at the
No.
end of the
Yeah.
day, isn't it? That's the thing. It's nothing personal.
Mm-mm.
It's just
Mm.
realizing that some behaviors move the needle towards where you want to go, and some behaviors actively move you away from where you want to go. And
Mm.
of course, when you know, when you don't know which is which in the early days and you suddenly find out which behavior is helping you and which behavior is not, it can be confronting. She can
Yeah.
be triggering, but
Yeah.
it isn't anything personal. It's just simply like I like to always, this is one of the things that I love about energy. It's like an equation,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
And you can't just wig any old number into the equation, you know, like it is an equation and it's always going to come out with the same answer if you put the same numbers through it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that I really love about working with energy because it is so precise and exacting,
Mm.
which means that you can create those duplicatable results.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Amazing.
Um,
Thank you so much for this conversation. I have
You're
enjoyed it so
welcome.
much.
Me
And I
too.
love the ripple effect that you're creating in this world. So please go and check out Jessica. We are going to pop all her links below here and make sure it's super easy for you to go and check her out. And we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.